Welcome to Chris's Corner for the week of November 6th. First off, let me apologize for two things. One, for not having a Chris's Corner last week, which I'm sure was a complete and total devastating effect for almost 99% of the folks out there. Or maybe it was only devastating to the 0.01% of the folks who are actually watching Chris's Corner. Either way, I apologize, and I promise to do a better job of making sure that Chris's Corner comes to you every single week. Secondly, let me just say that if I appear to be a little off today, it has something to do with the fact that I have foolishly been talked into doing a 7-day juice-only fast. This is day 3 of the juice-only fast. Amazingly enough, I have not killed anyone yet, but I reserve the right to do so. You'll also notice that today's Chris's Corner is coming to you from a different location. Instead of from my lovely windowless office on Capitol Hill with a Sidney Crosby bobblehead doll in the background, I'm coming to you actually from my living room because it's early in the morning and I haven't gotten to work yet and I wanted to get this done. You'll notice I have propped this up naturally with what I believe are the two most important jerseys in Pittsburgh Penguins history, that being Mario Lemieux and naturally my boy TK. Speaking of TK, for all the hate that TK's gotten, the San Jose Sharks are off to an unbelievable start, and last night, helping with that unbelievable start was a goal by my boy TK, who unfortunately is no longer wearing the number 48. But the magic of 48 has worn off on one of his teammates, Tomas Hertl, who is obviously wearing 48 in some sort of wonderful tribute to my boy, Tyler Kennedy. Anyways, now that we've dispensed with that, let's get to the week. First, let me say that there's probably going to be very little Pens talk on this and a whole lot of talk about some things going on in the NHL that, quite frankly, I find to be incredibly disturbing. Two events in particular. One, the domestic abuse charges against Colorado goalie Semyon Varlamov, and then two, the assault by Flyers goalie Ray Emery on Capitals goalie Brandon Holtby. I say that both of these events are disturbing to me for two reasons. One, because John Scott of the Buffalo Sabres was just suspended for 7 games for an illegal blow to the head. I have absolutely no problem with that whatsoever. I think that it is right for the NHL to be cracking down on blows to the head. However, in John Scott's defense, that is a hit that a few years ago would have been legal and, in fact, would have been celebrated. And as soon as that hit happened, John Scott was immediately persecuted by everyone in the hockey world, clamoring for his head, demanding that they make an example out of John Scott, which they did. A guy who had never been suspended before gets suspended for 7 games for an illegal hit to the head. And again, I don't have any problem with this. But I'll tell you what I do have a problem with. Semyon Varlamov gets arrested for attacking his girlfriend. The felony charges against Semyon Varlamov. And the details of it, the accusation here is unbelievable. We're talking about the charges that he kicked the crap out of his girlfriend, and while he was beating her, said that if we were in Russia, he would keep beating her. Now, look, I understand. Everyone's entitled to due process. And a lot of the Varlamov defenders in this case keep telling me that, oh, well, we've got to let the process work itself out. He's entitled to due process. And he absolutely is. He's entitled to due process for any of the rights that he actually has. A constitutional right, a legal right, a contractual right. He has got absolutely 100%, no question, a due process right to a fair trial. He can't just be thrown in jail just based on an accusation. And he's got a contractual right to get paid, and I understand that. He does not, however, have a right to be on the ice. Unless there is some clause in his contract, which I am completely unfamiliar with, he has no right to be on the ice. The Colorado Avalanche could continue to pay him. He could continue to work his way through the judicial process here without being on the ice. While John Scott is not on the ice, Semyon Varlamov started in goal the day after turning himself in for this. The response from the NHL? Crickets chirping. Absolutely nothing. What kind of message are we sending to people out there? That an illegal blow to the head is unbelievable. We got to do something about this. Of course we got to do something about this because the NHL is worried about liability. But beat the crap out of your girlfriend? No problem. Started net the next day. Nothing we can do about it. and talking about goalies with bad behavior, this is kind of the goalies gone wild episode of Chris's Corner. The Flyers and the Caps play. Flyers goalie Ray Emery, and I use that in quotation marks because, of course, as a goalie for the Flyers, your main goal is to simply sit there and take shots and let them go past you. Ray Emery comes out of net, skates down the ice, drops the glove. Capitals goalie Brandon Holtby does not drop his gloves, and yet Ray Emery continues on and essentially assaults him. The result is, the next day, absolutely no suspension whatsoever. Gary Bettman says, we're looking at changing the rules to deal with a situation like this. I'm sorry, there is a rule in place now. It's actually called an assault, which is exactly what Ray Emery did. Ray Emery assaulted Brandon Holtby. And the response from the league was, he didn't break any rules, and so we're simply going to look at a rule change. What the hell is the matter with Gary Bettman and the NHL? Again, John Scott suspended for 7 games for an illegal blow to the head that would have been legal up until a couple years ago. Semyon Varlamov beats the crap out of his girlfriend. He's on the ice the next day. Ray Emery goes down and assaults Brandon Holtby. Absolutely no suspension. So I ask you, what is the message that the NHL is sending with these actions or lack of actions? The message they're sending is simply one message. They're worried about a concussion lawsuit. They're worried about the liability, the same issues we've seen with the NFL. And at the end of the day, quite frankly, that's all Gary Bettman's interested in. He's not actually interested in player safety. He's not actually interested in doing what is in the best interest of the game. He's not actually interested in protecting the integrity of the game. He's interested in protecting their pockets. And I, for one, am sad by that. Again, I think it was right to suspend John Scott, but I think the decision to allow Semyon Varlamov to be on the ice with these type of charges pending against him is absolutely wrong. I think the decision to do nothing to Ray Emery after assaulting Brandon Holtby is absolutely wrong. I think the NHL needs to get its act together and needs to get its act together quickly. The NHL has been on the cutting edge on a lot of social issues, on LGBT issues. The You Can Play project. It's revolutionized sports, and the NHL has been on the cutting edge of that, sending a message to gay, lesbian, bisexual, and transgender athletes everywhere that you're welcome in our game. Well, you want to know what? We also need to send a message that domestic violence won't be tolerated. We don't care who you are. If you go out there and you beat the crap out of your girlfriend, you are not going to be in net the next night. And that assault is not going to be tolerated. You want to talk about worrying about the goonish behavior of guys like John Scott? Worry about the goonish behavior of somebody who actually goes down and assaults somebody. That's what we're talking about. I'm not expecting the NHL to change overnight. But I do expect at some point the league will figure out it has got a PR problem on its hands and it needs to do something about it. This has been Chris's Corner for November 6th. Can't wait to talk to you guys next week.